At Thanksgiving, my mom said I was no longer family. She texted me after seeing the headline. When my mother told me I was no longer part of the family at Thanksgiving dinner, I didn't argue. I just stood up, grabbed my coat, and left. 2 years later, she saw my face on the news and suddenly remembered she had a daughter. I'm Nicole Harper, and for 28 years, I believed family meant something. I thought blood ties were unbreakable. I was wrong. That Thanksgiving started like every other holiday at my parents' house in Michigan. My older brother, Preston, arrived late with his wife, Vanessa, and their 3 kids. Everyone rushed to hug them. I'd been there since morning, helping Mom cook the turkey and peel potatoes. Nobody noticed. Preston worked in sales and complained constantly about money. Yet somehow, they always had new cars and designer clothes. My parents acted like he walked on water just because he gave them grandchildren. I worked as a junior software developer, living in a tiny apartment and saving every dollar. No husband, no kids. Just me, my laptop, and dreams nobody cared about. Dinner felt wrong from the start. Dad sat at the head of the table, Mom to his right, Preston to his left. I got squeezed between Vanessa and my nephew, who kept kicking my chair. Preston got promoted again, Mom announced proudly, passing the mashed potatoes. Regional sales manager. Isn't that wonderful? Everyone clapped. Preston smiled like he'd won an award. What about you, Nicole? Vanessa asked, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Still doing that computer thing? Software development, I corrected. Actually, I'm working on something big, an app that could... That's nice, honey, Mom interrupted. Preston, tell everyone about the new house you're buying. My words died in my throat. This happened every time. Preston talked. I disappeared. He launched into a story about a 5-bedroom house with a pool. Everyone oohed and ahed. I pushed food around my plate, appetite gone. Then Mom dropped the bomb. We have an announcement, Dad said, tapping his wine glass. Your mother and I have been discussing our retirement plans. Mom smiled at Preston. We've decided to help Preston and Vanessa with their down payment, $50,000. My fork clattered onto my plate. $50,000. I'd asked them for $5,000 last year to invest in my app development. They'd said no, said I needed to be more responsible with money. That's incredibly generous, Vanessa gushed. We're so grateful. Family takes care of family, Dad said, looking directly at me. Preston has a real career, a real family. He needs support. The words hit like a slap. What was I then? Fake? I have a career, I said quietly. I've been working 60-hour weeks on my project. If it succeeds. If, Mom cut in. That's the problem, Nicole. You're always chasing fantasies. Preston is practical. He's building something real. My hands shook under the table. I asked you for help last year. You said no. That was different, Dad said. You wanted money for some app idea. Preston needs a house for his children, our grandchildren. So my dreams don't matter because I don't have kids. Mom sighed like I was being difficult. You're 30 next year, Nicole, still single, still renting, still playing with computers. When are you going to grow up? The table went silent. Even the kids stopped fidgeting. Playing with computers? I repeated. I have a computer science degree. I work for a real company. I'm developing something that could change. Could, Preston interrupted. That's all you ever say. Could, might, maybe. I deal with reality. That's why Mom and Dad trust me. Vanessa nodded agreement. My nephew kicked my chair again. Nobody told him to stop. I looked at Mom, desperate for her to defend me. She avoided my eyes. You know what? I said, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. You're right. I don't have kids. I don't have a fancy house or a husband, but I have worked my entire life to make you proud. Nicole, don't be dramatic, Mom said. Dramatic? You just gave Preston $50,000 and told me my career is a fantasy. How should I react? Dad's face turned red. Watch your tone. We raised you better than this. You raised me to believe hard work matters. But apparently, it only matters if you're Preston. Preston leaned back in his chair, smirking. Maybe if you'd focused on finding a husband instead of coding all day, you'd understand what real priorities look like. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Real priorities? I stood up. I've been here since 8 this morning helping cook. Where were you? Oh, right, you showed up an hour late. Sit down, Dad commanded. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm embarrassing myself. You just chose Preston over me for the 1,000th time. And I'm the embarrassment? Mom's voice went cold. If you can't be happy for your brother, maybe you shouldn't be here. The words hung in the air. My heart stopped. What did you just say? You heard me, Mom said, her face hard. We're tired of your jealousy, Nicole. Tired of your complaining. Preston contributes to this family. He gave us grandchildren. He visits every week. What do you do besides criticize? I call you every Sunday. I help whenever you ask. It's not the same, Dad interrupted. Preston is building a legacy. You're chasing pipe dreams. We love you, but we can't keep pretending your choices are equal to his. Vanessa whispered something to Preston. He nodded, both of them watching me like I was entertainment. So that's it? My voice cracked. I'm less valuable because I'm not married with kids? You're less valuable because you're selfish, Mom said. Each word was a knife. Everything is always about you. Your projects, your feelings, your dreams. Preston thinks about his family first. That's what adults do. I grabbed my purse from the back of the chair. My coat was in the hallway closet. I needed to leave before I started crying in front of them. Where are you going? Dad demanded. Away from here. Don't you dare walk out on Thanksgiving dinner, Mom said. After everything we've done for you. Done for me? I laughed, but it came out bitter. You paid for Preston's college apartment. I worked 3 jobs and took out loans. You gave him a car for graduation. I got a card. And now $50,000 for a house while my dreams are fantasies? That's enough, Dad roared, standing up. You will not disrespect your mother. Then maybe she should try respecting me for once. Mom stood too, her face twisted with anger. Fine, leave. If you can't support your brother, if you can't be grateful for this family, then maybe you don't belong here. The room froze. Even the kids went quiet. What did you say? You heard me, Mom repeated. If you walk out that door, don't come back. We're done enabling your victim mentality. Preston is our priority now. He's the one giving us grandchildren, the one who appreciates what we do. Preston's smirk grew wider. He'd won. Again. I looked at each of them. Dad's angry face, Mom's cold eyes, Preston's satisfaction, Vanessa's barely hidden glee. The kids, confused but absorbing every word. Okay, I said quietly, if that's how you feel. I walked to the hallway closet and grabbed my coat. My hands were surprisingly steady. Behind me, I heard Mom say something to Preston, her voice already warmer. Nobody followed me to the door. Nobody apologized. Nobody said wait. I stood on their porch in the cold November air and realized I'd just lost my family. Not through death or distance, but through choice. Their choice. The drive home was a blur. I lived 40 minutes away in a studio apartment above a bakery. It smelled like cinnamon rolls every morning. That used to make me happy. Inside, I locked the door and finally let myself cry. Not gentle tears, but ugly, body-shaking sobs. I cried for the little girl who'd tried so hard to make her parents proud, for the teenager who'd studied until midnight every night, for the woman who'd sacrificed everything and still wasn't enough. My phone buzzed. A text from Preston. Drama queen. I blocked his number, then Mom's, then Dad's. I couldn't handle their messages right now. Couldn't bear to see whatever justifications they'd invented for what just happened. That night, I made a decision. If my family thought my dreams were fantasies, I'd prove them wrong. Not for them anymore. For me. My app, SafeRoute, was designed to help people find the safest walking paths in cities using real-time crime data and user reports. I'd been working on it for 3 years, pouring every spare moment and dollar into development. I had a small team, 2 developers I'd met online, Carlos and Priya, who believed in the project enough to work for equity instead of payment. We were close to launching, so close. Monday morning, I called my boss and quit my job. He thought I was crazy. Maybe I was, but I had 6 months of savings and a fire in my belly that could power a city. The next 6 months were brutal. I worked 18-hour days, sleeping on an air mattress because I'd sold my bed to pay for server costs. Carlos and Priya pushed just as hard, coding through weekends and holidays. We launched SafeRoute in May. The first week we had 200 users. The second week, 500. Then a college student in Ohio used our app and avoided a street where an assault happened 20 minutes later. She posted about it online. We hit 10,000 users by June, then 50,000, then 500,000. News outlets started calling. TechCrunch wrote an article. Forbes mentioned us in their Startups to Watch column. Suddenly, investors were interested. My parents didn't know any of this. We hadn't spoken since Thanksgiving, not a single call, text, or email in 6 months. They'd meant what they said. I was no longer family. It hurt less now. The wound had scarred over, turned into something hard and useful. Fuel. In August, a venture capital firm offered us funding, $2 million for 20% equity. I sat in their office, listening to them praise my vision, my execution, my leadership. Everything my parents said was a fantasy was now worth actual money. I accepted the offer. Carlos and Priya cried with joy. We weren't rich yet, but we were legitimate, real, successful. The money meant we could hire a proper team, scale up, improve the technology. By October, we had 2 million users across 15 cities. Then CNN called. They wanted to do a segment on apps making cities safer. They wanted to interview me. The segment aired on a Tuesday evening in November, almost exactly 1 year after that Thanksgiving dinner. I wore a blue blazer and spoke clearly about our mission, our growth, our impact. The host called me an innovator, a visionary. My phone exploded with messages. Old friends, former coworkers, people I'd gone to college with. Everyone was proud. Everyone was excited, except the 3 people whose opinion used to matter most. The next morning, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Nicole? Mom's voice, small and uncertain. It's me. My chest tightened. I'd blocked her number, so she must have called from Dad's phone or a friend's. How did you get this number? We saw you on TV last night. You look so professional. We didn't know you'd started a company. Silence stretched between us. I'd imagined this conversation 1,000 times. In some versions, I yelled. In others, I cried. In my favorite version, I hung up. What do you want? I asked. I wanted to say, we've been thinking about you, missing you. Maybe we overreacted at Thanksgiving. Overreacted, like she'd gotten mildly annoyed instead of disowning me. Overreacted, I repeated flatly. Yes. You know how emotions run high during holidays. We didn't mean, you told me I didn't belong in the family. We were upset, Mom said quickly. Preston had been talking about the house for weeks, and you seemed so ungrateful. But we didn't mean permanently. You're still our daughter. Am I? Because I remember Dad saying Preston was your priority now. Families fight, Nicole. Doesn't mean families fight about who does the dishes or what movie to watch. You erased me because I didn't have kids. Mom's voice hardened slightly. That's not fair. You're twisting what happened. Am I? Tell me exactly what I'm twisting. A pause. Then, we saw your company is worth money now. That's wonderful. We always knew you were smart. And there it was, the real reason for the call. Not guilt, not love, money. You told me my career was a fantasy. You said I was chasing pipe dreams. Preston agreed. He called me a drama queen. Do you remember? People say things in anger, Mom said. What matters is we're family. We should move past this. Move past it, I echoed. Just like that? Yes. Life's too short for grudges. Your father and I would love to see you. We could have dinner. Talk properly. I pictured that dinner. Mom pretending nothing happened. Dad interrogating me about finances. Preston probably there too, acting like he hadn't smirked while they destroyed me. No, I said. No? No, I won't have dinner. No, I won't pretend everything's fine. No, I won't let you back into my life now that I'm successful. Mom's voice turned sharp. Don't be childish. We're your parents. We raised you. You owe us. I owe you? I laughed. I owe you nothing. You made your choice last Thanksgiving. I'm just respecting it. Your father has been under a lot of stress, the economy, his retirement. Maybe we were too hard on you, but... Stop, I interrupted. You're not sorry about what you said. You're sorry I turned out to be right. You're sorry you bet on the wrong kid. That's a terrible thing to say. It's the truth. If Safe Route had failed, you'd never have called. You'd still be celebrating Preston and pretending I don't exist. Preston is still your brother. This family isn't my family anymore. You said so yourself. I could hear her breathing on the other end, searching for words that would fix this. There weren't any. Nicole, please, let's not do this over the phone. Come home. We can work this out. That house stopped being home the day you told me to leave. I'm not coming back. You're being ridiculous? Over one fight? One fight where you disowned me? Yeah, I guess I am being ridiculous for taking you at your word. Mom's voice cracked. I'm your mother. You can't just cut me out of your life. You cut me out first. I'm just making it permanent. Wait, she started, but I ended the call. My hands were shaking. Not from fear or sadness, but from adrenaline, from power. For the first time in my life, I'd stood up to her completely. No backing down, no apologizing for being angry. It felt incredible. Over the next week, I got 17 more calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Dad, Preston, probably Vanessa too. I blocked them all. A few texts made it through before I could hit block. Dad, you're breaking your mother's heart. Hope your success was worth losing your family. So ungrateful after everything they did for you. I deleted every message without responding. They wanted a reaction, proof I still cared. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Safe Route kept growing. We expanded to 25 cities, 3 million users. Another investment round brought in $8 million. Forbes did a feature article. I was interviewed on Good Morning America. Through it all, my real family was there. Carlos and Priya, who'd believed in me when no one else did. Our new team of 12 incredible people who worked tirelessly. My best friend Autumn, who'd listened to me cry for months and never once suggested I forgive my parents. They don't deserve you, Autumn said one night over takeout in my new apartment, a real place with actual furniture. They had 28 years to appreciate you and blew it. Part of me still misses them, I admitted. Not who they are, but who I thought they were. That's normal. You're grieving the family you deserved, not the one you had. She was right. I was mourning an illusion, a fantasy that my parents loved me unconditionally. Reality was they loved me conditionally, and I'd failed to meet their conditions until success forced their hand. But I didn't need them anymore. Maybe I never had. In December, Safe Route was acquired by a major tech company for $42 million. My share, after everyone got paid, was $18 million. $18 million. I stared at my bank account, unable to process the numbers. I'd gone from eating ramen and selling furniture to more money than my parents would make in 10 lifetimes. The news hit every major outlet. 26-year-old creates safety app, sells for $42 million. My face was everywhere. My story, the struggle, the belief, the triumph, became inspiration material. My phone rang constantly with interview requests, speaking invitations, investment opportunities. I hired a manager just to handle it all. 3 days after the acquisition announcement, someone knocked on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and froze. Preston stood in the hallway, holding flowers. I didn't open the door. "Nicole, I know you're there," he called. "Please, just hear me out. Go away. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I'm asking you to leave, now." He pressed his face closer to the door. "I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry about Thanksgiving. About everything. I was jealous of you. I always have been." I almost laughed. Preston, jealous of me? The golden child who got everything handed to him? "You're lying," I said through the door. "I'm not. You were always smarter, more driven. Mom and Dad didn't see it, but I did. It scared me, so I put you down every chance I got." His words sounded rehearsed, probably practiced in the car on the way over. "And now that I'm successful, you suddenly had this realization?" "Success looks good on you, Nick. You deserve it. Can we please talk?" "I brought flowers. Mom made me promise." "Mom made you come," I interrupted. "This wasn't your idea." Silence. Caught. "She's worried about you," he finally said. "We all are. Worried about me or worried about my money? That's not fair." I opened the door a crack, chain still latched. Preston looked older than I remembered, tired, the swagger was gone. "You called me a drama queen. You smirked while Mom told me I wasn't family. You texted me afterward to mock me, and now you're here with grocery store flowers and a fake apology?" He had the decency to look ashamed. I was a jerk. I know that. But we're blood, Nicole. That has to mean something. It used to mean something. Past tense. Don't be like this. Mom's a mess. Dad won't admit it, but he regrets everything. We need you. Need me, or need what I have? Preston's jaw tightened. If you think this is about money, isn't it? You showed up 3 days after the sale went public. Not on my birthday, not on Christmas. 3 days after everyone knows I'm worth millions. Mom wants to see you. She's asking, no, begging for one dinner. One chance to apologize properly. She had a year to apologize. She waited until I succeeded. Because she didn't know what you were doing. You blocked us. You cut us off completely. After you cut me off first, I reminded him. Funny how that works. Preston ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. What do you want? Groveling? Fine, I'll grovel. Just don't shut us out forever. I want you to leave, I said calmly. I want you to tell Mom and Dad that I'm not interested in reconciliation. I want you to stop calling from different numbers. I want to be left alone. You don't mean that. I absolutely mean that. He stared at me through the crack in the door, searching for any sign of weakness. He wouldn't find one. That girl who'd cried herself to sleep every night for months was gone. This version of me was stronger. You know what your problem is? Preston said, his nice guy mask slipping. You think you're better than us now. All your money and success, and suddenly we're not good enough for you. No, Preston. You're finally experiencing what I lived with for 28 years. How does it feel, being not good enough? His face reddened. We're family. You can't just abandon family. You're right. Real family doesn't abandon each other. Guess we were never really family to begin with. I closed the door. He banged on it a few more times, yelling about loyalty and forgiveness and blood, but I turned on music and ignored him. Eventually, he left. The flowers sat in the hallway for 3 days before my neighbor threw them away. Christmas came and went. I spent it with Carlos, Priya, and Autumn, eating too much pizza and playing video games. It was the best holiday I'd had in years. No judgment, no comparison, just people who liked me for me. New Year's Eve, I stood on my balcony watching fireworks and thought about the year I'd had. The pain of losing my family, the joy of building something meaningful, the vindication of being right about my dreams. I didn't regret cutting them off, not even a little bit. In January, I started a scholarship fund for young women in tech from low-income families, $500,000 a year, to help girls like me who believed in themselves even when their families didn't. The local news covered it, so did national outlets. I gave interviews talking about believing in yourself, about not letting others define your worth, about building your own family from people who deserve you. My parents saw every interview. I know because Preston sent me a message from yet another new number. Mom cries every time she sees you on TV. Hope you're happy. I was happy, actually. Happier than I'd been in years. My company was thriving under new ownership, and I'd stayed on as Chief Innovation Officer. I bought a house with a pool, bigger than Preston's. I traveled, I invested, I lived. 6 months after Preston showed up at my door, I got a letter, actual paper, mailed to my office, from Mom. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. The letter was 6 pages long, handwritten. Mom's neat cursive filled every line. She talked about regret, about missing me, about realizing too late what she'd lost. She said Dad was sick, nothing serious yet, but getting older. She said Preston's marriage was struggling. She said Thanksgiving wasn't the same without me. The last paragraph asked for one thing, a chance to meet for coffee. Just coffee. No strings attached. I read the letter 3 times. Parts of it sounded genuine, parts sounded manipulative, all of it came too late. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, she sent another letter, then another, each one more desperate, more detailed about their regrets, more insistent that family should forgive. I never wrote back, not to be cruel, but because there was nothing to say. They'd made their choice when it mattered. I'd made mine when it counted. A year and a half after that Thanksgiving dinner, I ran into Vanessa at a coffee shop. She was alone, looking tired. Our eyes met. She quickly looked away, but I walked over. "How's Preston?" I asked. She flinched. "Fine. Everything's fine." "That's good to hear." She stood up to leave, then turned back. "Your mom still talks about you, every single day. She keeps articles about you in a scrapbook." "That's interesting," I said neutrally. "Don't you care?" "I cared for 28 years. It wasn't enough then. It won't be enough now." Vanessa shook her head. "You've changed." "No," I corrected. "I just stopped pretending their love was unconditional when it clearly wasn't." She left without another word. I sat down with my coffee and opened my laptop to work on my next project, an app helping survivors of family estrangement find community and support. Because I'd learned something valuable that terrible Thanksgiving, the family you're born into doesn't define you. The family you build does, and mine was bigger, stronger, and more loving than the one I'd lost. My phone buzzed, a text from Autumn. "Dinner tonight? Priya's cooking." I smiled and typed back, "Wouldn't miss it." Outside, rain started falling. I watched people hurry past with umbrellas, protecting themselves from the storm. I used to think I needed my parents as shelter, but I'd learned to be my own umbrella, my own protection, my own home, and that made all the difference.